Bitch, we're wearing a bonnet, okay? We are wearing a bonnet today, all right? Because I can't be bothered to subscribe to the anti-black notion that I must have my hair in check at all times. Baby, I am in my apartment where I need to be comfortable, where I need to be at one with my blackness. So I choose to wear a bonnet. Also, I don't want to take it off. All right, you guys. So this is going to be the first time I think I've come on here and talked to you guys openly about some YouTube main channel shit. Now, I keep pointing this out, but if you are on my Patreon, I have some really long-winded conversations about where I'm at work-wise, and much like every time I've made a front-facing YouTube video where I talk about it, I feel the need to thank the people that have been with me through those conversations and helped me form my perspective. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the things that I have been talking about there, because I think I have definitely some more solidified thoughts, and also I guess be kind of transparent with you guys about YouTube shit. So let's talk about it. Okay, so I've mentioned a few times on this channel that I'm trying to get away from making certain types of content. I guess we'll start there. If you've watched my video about the end of an era, you know, you kind of get this already, and these feelings have really only gotten more intense. I've been a person who's made online content since I was 15 years old. I turn 33 this year. God damn it, I'm old. You know you're old when American Girl Doll is releasing vintage historical dolls that look like how you and your friends used to dress when you were younger. That's kind of cringe. But anyway, I'm tired. Let's just start there. I'm tired, and one of the biggest things I've learned is that respectability politics really only gets you so far. Now, if you are a reader of my website, blackinthecity.com, which I don't promote enough, but totally should, because it's where I'm writing longer form essays. When I make videos about this stuff, a lot of the reasoning behind me making these videos is because I want to like get my thoughts out there and then curate them for writing later. But you've probably read a few of my posts about respectability politics. I grew up in a predominantly conservative area where, you know, everyone's just kind of encouraged to not call shit out. Let's just put it that way. I lived in Orange County for 6 years, some places that were more Republican than others. And I experienced so much. Funny enough, there's a little, this is a great example of like a creative endeavor that I didn't pursue, but I really wanted to. I was going to make a video at some point that was supposed to be what I would upload instead of the end of the era video, where I was very theatrical and I made puppets and I put on like a puppet performance telling the story, but bitch, we're just going to talk about it here. So like, give you an example of respectability politics. When I was living in Orange County, it was really common for white women to just randomly come up to me and touch my hair, right? Without even asking for my permission, without even introducing themselves, just putting their fingers in my hair. I have such vivid memories of this happening at Trader Joe's, where people would just, you know, walk up to me and just, you know, it was very strange, right? And in those scenarios, you know, you kind of have one or two options, right? As a black person in a predominantly white space, I'm intimately aware of how my blackness is seen as more dangerous, right? So instead of saying, fuck off, you white bitch, back the fuck up, which is what I really want to say, I giggle and I smile and I say, oh, thank you. You know, as they negate my consent and touch me without asking, I'm supposed to make myself smaller, smile, and be appreciative of their appreciation of me. Really, they're othering and they're kind of treating me like a zoo exhibit. kind of thing, right? I'm supposed to be appreciative of it because white women will always assume that stuff like that is a compliment, right? It's a compliment that I walked up to you, negated your consent, and touched your hair, right? If I were to say, fuck you, back the fuck up, which is a very normal response for someone who touches you without your permission, I would immediately be seen as violent, ignorant, pushy, and one of those people, right? One of those black people. And living and existing in these environments really encouraged me to not quite accurately call out harm. It really encouraged me to not quite accurately describe shitty things that were happening to me. Because respectability politics really prioritizes you putting on a nice face and not being disruptive over a person being confronted with their isms, right? It is all about coddling and, embracing and hugging the majority class so that they don't feel bad about it, right? All of it is about making sure that the people who have power over you don't feel bad about their power over you, right? And what I realized is that doing this over and over again and engaging with people in this way had the impact of allowing these people not to get that they were actually being harmful, right? If you're sitting around and you're kind of like, experience with it is, oh, well, I have a black friend and they don't mind me touching their hair like that. You're going to assume that that's okay. And there's some people who for sure know better and know what they're doing. And there's definitely some people who don't. And I feel like what I've done throughout my career is try to make content for the people who don't know that they're being shitty. And to some degree, I can sort of look at my career and understand that my respectability is why I've been successful, right? Of course, racist white people and transphobes will always see me as like this terrible, angry, aggressive person, right? But if you've been following me for a really long time, it will probably shock you that I said, fuck you, you white bitch in this video, because I would never say something like that. And white people especially really appreciated the fact that I would never say something like that I was one of the good ones, right? But, I don't have to call her a white bitch per se. But, worse things have been said to me living in these environments and being on this platform. And I am always expected to not be too mad about it. I'm always expected to not be too angry about it. Now, I'm not going to focus too much on this, but this was a wake-up call for me because, one of the videos I wanted to make when I first tried to, restart this channel is just my genuine naivete around the way that some people digest stuff on the internet. You guys have to get, like I said, I've been making content since I was 15 years old. Me doing videos like this is very habitual for me. This is a habit that I've had for a very long time, and it's how I've often expressed myself. It's how I've often put thoughts out there that I wanted to sort of like interact with and conference with other people. Like, it's kind of, that's how I've always been. And so doing the scripted content is something that I love doing. It's something I can do. It's something that I technically am capable of, and I'm doing it. We're gonna talk about that later. But I've always, for most of my career, the soul of my career, it's been this, turning on my camera and talking to it, right? And over the years, I kind of learned to slowly but surely pull away from having the kind of personality I used to have. I learned such, this word is bad, that word is bad, don't say this, don't act like that. If you want people to listen to you, you're going to act like this, right? But having my understanding be that has definitely made it so that I think I don't exactly understand internet stuff the way that other people do, right? So when I interacted with Vosh, for example, right, I think some people don't get or didn't get that when I was questioning the tactics of political streamers, it was truly coming from a place of not understanding why this is appealing. And part of being in situations where you are so entrenched in respectability is doubting yourself, right? You have a way of doubting your own understanding of things when someone says something racist to you and you very much understand that calling that out as racist will get you accused of being violent and aggressive, right? I think some people pick up on it, but like some people don't understand that I have spent most of my life in those contexts where I am engaging in respectability politics nonstop every single day through most conversations that I have. That's my norm. That has been my norm, right? And so for me, it's been kind of hard to reconcile this kind of new type of blogger who doesn't do any of that, right? Of course, the benefit that some of these creators have is that they're usually white men, right? Usually white cis men. And white cis men have the freedom to, for the most part, be taken as individuals, right? They have the freedom to, for the most part, be angry and have it sort of, right? What bothered me with my interaction with Vosh before, I actually did some shit was, going back to my Twitter thing, I started it out being like, I don't hate Vosh. This is not a Vosh hate post. I just really want to understand how being misogynistic to J.K. Rowling, fuck that bitch, how being misogynistic to J.K. Rowling is helpful to trans women. That was a genuine question. It wasn't like a 4D chess. I'm trying to, like, in a complicated way, be shitty to Vosh. It was a genuine area of confusion for me because I'm sitting over here as a person who is endlessly engaged in respectability politics, and I'm not understanding how or why this other person can completely throw that out of the window and say, fuck it, we're going to be fucking terrible and shitty and say the cuss words and be edgy. And that is somehow not only seen as more leftist than me, but is celebrated as being more effective than me. Now, of course, this is also a part of being in these spaces where you're encouraged to question yourself and doubt yourself, because when I first saw Vosh and I first saw a lot of other bloggers who are in a similar vein, I immediately registered them as people that I don't necessarily want to follow. And some people don't get this, but Vosh and I did have our little flirty moment before, when he was a smaller creator and he wasn't making the exact kind of content that he's making now. But the moment I got the impression that he was basically a clout hungry person, I completely lost interest in interacting with him in that context. Well, I mean, that, and things we won't get into here, but there was a time where I was like, oh, this is another leftist creator who's creating stuff. And he's a leftist dude with a beard, which, at the time, I was in like I don't even know how to describe it. I was new in LA and I was really, really into dating leftist men. And I dated several and they were all terrible. Every last fucking one of them. Mostly white leftists. They were all just the worst, most performative, whitest people ever. I'm just gonna be fucking real. So he interacted with me when I was in that phase, and now I'm very much like, I don't even care. I don't care if you go to DSA. In fact, that's like a red flag. I need to see that you're actually about that shit, right? Which is why my primary partner is Palestinian and Mexican, because he don't need to do that. He's lived it and his family's lived it, right? Another subject. But anyway, that for me was really clarifying, because I already sort of, like, when I saw all the other shit, it didn't sit right with me. But when you're used to living within respectability politics, someone will come up to you and say the N-word, and you will have to try to find a complex explanation for why this person saying the N-word isn't racist. And this person usually has people around them, friends, people who are trying to be friendly to you, who don't want you to criticize that person because they said the racist shit, right? I'll never forget. I was in when I used to live in City of Orange, which is the last place I lived in Orange County. Um, I hung out with this guy after the bar. I didn't realize it, but the vibe. See, this is so funny looking back because this was first when I was just starting to go out, um, and I was a very different person. Um, this was during a time where I was still living with my ex, but we were broken up, and I didn't want to go home. And so what I would do is I would hang out with people after the bar. And in a small town, what do you do after the bar, right? You go to someone's fucking house, right? And sometimes that house was not even like very far away from you know, the bar. It's literally just right down the street, and the bartenders will probably pop up later. And there's this guy that I was talking to at the bar. He was pretty cute. He was, you know, had red hair and a beard, and, you know, seemed like a really nice guy or whatever. And I get in his car to go to the after party, and I look up, and he's got a big Confederate flag on the top of his truck, a pickup truck, of course. Now, this is a guy that I gotten along with, right? This is a guy that was clearly attracted to me, was clearly sexually interested in me. And I was doing my, like, I'm recently single and feeling kind of flirty sort of thing. And I just want to hang out, and I don't want to go home. Because, like, if you've ever broken up with your partner and then lived with them, it can be pretty toxic, honestly. It can be really fucking toxic. And I did not want to go back. I did not want to go back home. And so I hung out with him, and then we went to this after thing. And then, of course, because they're not used to having black people in these spaces, I had to listen to white people say the N-word. And then, because I'm there, I have to then listen to all of these explanations about why this person who said the N-word isn't a racist. Right? And why did I stay, right? Why did I stay? Because I wanted to belong. I wanted friends. I wanted to be able to not be excluded, right? So I allowed myself to sort of embrace kind of the idea that a white person could say the N-word and not necessarily be a racist, right? Now, I could have accurately called it out and said, hey, you're being racist and I'm going to go home, but I didn't. Because I didn't want to shake the fence. And also I was surrounded by white people who for sure probably would have argued, yeah, him saying the N-word isn't racist. Right? So that's the kind of shit that, like, I had become too comfortable around. Right? This shit where I'm just accepting that someone's going to be racist. Right? And learning and explaining a way to myself, how this person gets to be a little shitty and why I shouldn't call it out. Right? So that just creates a cycle of self-doubt. It creates a cycle where you don't exactly feel like you get to accurately describe your pain. Right? Because every time you accurately describe your pain, you're a jerk. You're an asshole. Right? You're the racist, actually. Right? And so for whatever reason, that interaction I had with Vosh really, like, put things into fucking perspective. It allowed me to understand that my first intuition about a person is not necessarily wrong. That I have all the reasons in the world to look at someone, hear them say one racist thing, and say, yeah, that person's a racist and I don't want to interact with them. And, you know, in the online ecosystem, this is another video I wanted to make at some point, you're really encouraged not to do that, right? I'm supposed to be forgiving to every white person who has publicly expressed racism, or I'm unfair, right? There's a creator on here who forever ago, I'm not going to actually tell you who this is, made a really shitty, terrible video about me, right? Very transphobic, very racist, really, really fucked up, right? And it got a lot of views. Back then, I was a much smaller creator. This particular person has always been, actually, let me look at where they're at right now. Let me look at their sub count right now. this particular person, from what I've understood, has always been a pretty large creator. Oop, sorry, that was a Karen video. I watched Karen videos. Let me see how many subscribers they have. Okay, so this person has currently about 170 more, no, 110,000 more subscribers than me, right? And I think at the time he was definitely much larger than me. And so what happened when he made a video about me? I got a shitload of harassment. And I don't consider harassment to be criticizing me. I don't consider harassment to be disagreeing with me, right? I probably have a higher standard for harassment than most people because I'm a person who's been on the internet since it's, I'm a person who's been on YouTube since YouTube has been a thing, right? So there's definitely a degree of like thick skin that I have, right? But I definitely received quite a bit of shit because he made this terrible video about me, right? Now, recently, I'm looking at stuff right now. I want to say within the past year, this person's done a full 180 or 360. I don't know math. Where now he is totally championing all of the things that I championed. All the things that he harassed me about, he's doing it now. He is so left-leaning, open-minded, educated, speaking out about the issues, educating people about systemic racism. He's very rah. Now I'm on the left. And there are some people who I know want for me to be forgiving towards this person, right? They want for me to be forgiving. Oh, you were just a young, angry white boy who needed something to be mad about because you didn't have any issues in your life. Well, I wouldn't have said all that, but they want me to do that, right? They want me to do that. And, there have been times where I've kind of entertained, not this particular person, but that sort of thing with other people where, they've changed, right? But why do I even have an open mind to that, right? Because I've lived most of my life accepting that, yeah, maybe people can be a little fucking racist. Maybe they can be a little transphobic. Maybe they can be a little terrible, right? But they're not actually hateful. Now, as a person who's been on the internet since I was a teenager, I am the first person to say that people can change. I very firmly believe that people can change. I want for people to change. I think that it's amazing that this person is different now and has kind of seen the light. I think that's great. I think that's amazing, right? But all too often, as a Black creator, as a trans creator, as a person who's not a white man, let's just say it, I'm expected to always be forgiving, agreeable, and accepting of people regardless of what their stance is. If I shut people out, if I turn them away, if I say I don't want anything to do with you, I don't want you to be around me, I don't want to listen to you, I don't want to support you, I don't want to interact with you, I'm the asshole. Always, perpetually. Even and especially if this person is saying something racist. Throughout my entire career, I've had people try to get me to come and debate several of the white men, usually, who have made content about me. And, one of the annoying aspects of this is most of the time white men have made this content about me. It's usually not responding to things I actually believe. It's usually not interacting with ideas that I actually hold. I've watched quite a few of response videos to me, and it's like they have a pre-prepared argument against trans people or against Black people, and they really just wanted me as an avatar in order to prop up this argument. And it's annoying because if I had that argument, I would have made that argument, but I usually don't make that argument. Like, I'll never forget, I made a video forever ago about trans people and, you know, whether or not being attracted to them is transphobic. And I've actually always consistently sort of had the same perspective on this. I've always said, I don't really think so. I know that that's an upsetting position for a lot of people, but whatever, I don't give a fuck. That's another thing you can read about on blackinthecity.com. Maybe we'll make a whole video about that. But, you know, that's always been my perspective, pretty much. And what did this white boy do? What did this white boy do? He decided to take that video and use it as a platform for him to argue that transgender people are too pushy and they think that everyone who doesn't want to fuck them is transphobic. And then I think the video was titled like Cat Black Doesn't Understand Attraction. Probably understand it a lot more than you do. I probably understand it a lot more than most cis people do, especially. Because one of the big reasons why I don't believe in sitting around and you know, having this debate about whether or not it's transphobic for people not to want to fuck trans people is, A, I've always been fuckable. Let's just start there. B, a lot of transphobic people have wanted to fuck me. For a while in my life, that was most of the people who wanted to fuck me. So that's part of why I don't buy into the idea. You know, some of the people who are attracted to trans women hate them so deeply. In fact, that's their attraction. They love this idea of using someone that they see as lesser than them, below them, right? They love getting off on someone that they feel is lesser than them. And they love debasing them afterwards. I've had a lot of experiences like that. Let's just start here. As a woman, especially, a lot of men who like women or who are attracted to women fucking hate women. Okay. Then I've also had that as a black woman. I've been in the middle of sex with white men. Sorry, this is such an anti-white video. And had them say some racist shit to me. Right? Like, and as a trans person, obviously that's what we're talking about. I've experienced it, you know, so it's like I've experienced that. So that's why I don't buy into those ideas. Right. But anyway, sorry, we really got sidetracked with that one. This person just made a video basically saying, you know, Kat thinks that everyone who doesn't want to sleep with a trans person is transphobic. And, you know, for me, it's historically been very frustrating because I think more than most people, actually, I pretty habitually record my complete thoughts about things. I've done that for most of my career, and I feel like I always make it really clear. But something that has taken me a really, really, really hard time to embrace is that a lot of people don't trust the messenger if they look like me. Right? So much of my interaction with these bloggers I'm mentioning are people who just look at me and see an angry, crazy, pushy, arrogant, you know, black person who doesn't deserve to be listened to. Right? And I think part of respectability for me has often been trying to circumvent that. But the realization I've had with time is that you really can only do that but so much, right? You can really only do that but so much. The Vosh thing bothered me because, again, I felt like I was being very clear that I wasn't trying to make a hate post. But Vosh interpreted it as a hate post, and then his fans interpreted it as a hate post. And then I did a bunch of shit that, like, you know, because my big thing is one of the big reasons why I don't like to have these like interactions with bloggers is because I go nuclear, you know, like I'm not the, you know, in a lot of contexts I can be patient, but like in some of these contexts, I will just be a bitch. And I don't often want to show that to people, but you know, we're in a new era, so who knows? But at the end of the day, a lot of these people do not care. They don't want to hear it. They will always see trans topics spoken to from a trans person's voice as, you know, biased, you know, same with my black stuff, same with a lot of shit that I talk about, right? Always biased, never actually identifiable or relatable, right? They will more rapidly embrace someone like Vosh, a cis man for now. Sorry. I only say that because he got really offended by me saying that he can't speak for trans people, which to me gives me egg vibes. But, you know, anyway. They're more willing to listen to someone like him talk about it than someone like me talk about it because they see him as unbiased, which is so hilarious because of course he is, right? You know, and it just took me a while to understand that people were not going to listen to me. And what I came back with is these conversations are stressing me out. Having to constantly reiterate the shit that I already said or feeling like I have to, and then also feeling like I have to do it politely as people, you know, move to misrepresent me and drag me, it was really exhausting. And as I talked about in my end of the era video, one of the big things I was focused on this year especially is pursuing shit that I actually like. You know, making stuff that I actually care about. You know, I want to create stuff that I enjoy making and I'm proud of. You know, like I said, there's a part of me that has this compulsion to make content. And that's a part of me that's existed since I was a teenager. I like it. It's why I'm a full-time creator. It's why I have the subscribers that I do. It's why, you know, it's why we've been uploading almost daily on this channel, right? I love doing this, right? I love doing this. It's really fun for me most of the time, but constantly making content about the isms that I embody that are utilized against me is exhausting. And it's especially exhausting when people refuse to listen to you. It's really, really, really exhausting, right? And so one of the things I've committed myself to is as we move forward, as we, you know, go into this era that we're entering into, I don't want to focus on the dire shit. You know, one of the reason that I wanted to make this video is that someone, and see, and this is why, see, I get kind of annoyed by this shit because this is the shit that usually would inspire me to make content, right? So I uploaded a clip from one of the videos on this channel to my main channel. And in that clip, we're talking about Harry Potter, right? And in that Harry Potter clip, I talk about how in certain states, they went from saying, oh, we don't want kids to transition to actually trying to make it so that adults can't transition, right? What did this comment say? And I've gotten a lot of comments like this. It was basically, you know, let me not misrepresent. Let me not do the thing that I was rallying against, right? Let's actually find the actual comment and properly, you know, properly represent them, right? So let me see. What are some things I've responded to? Okay, this should be the last one. So this person says, show the proof. What states are stooping to preventing adults over 18 from, you know, taking hormones? Prove it, or you're just making up lies. So now there's a few things to say about that, right? You're insinuating that I have this desire to come on YouTube and make up oppression, right? There's this idea that many people of the majority class have where discussing oppression is this fun thing that gains you social power. And why do they feel that way? Because when they say the N-word in a room with a black person and the black person says, hey, that's racist, they know that that's racist and they don't want it to be called out. It's the same sort of shit, right? You think that me speaking up for things that harm me is some form of immense social power, right? And you think that instead of doing the things that I enjoy, instead of doing the things that bring me pleasure, instead of doing the things that actually make me feel like I'm having a fulfilled day and not just explaining myself over and over again to people who wouldn't piss on me if I were on fire, you think that I would rather do that than anything else, right? So you have to believe that I'm making up a lie. I'm making up a lie to, shit on your parade, pee on your parade, rain on your parade. We doing everything. We doing golden showers and brown showers. So in the past, what I would do is I would read a comment like this, and I would go and write a script explaining all the things, and I would do it just like this. Hi guys, it's Kat, and we're here to talk about the ever-growing push to completely remove transgender people from public life. Right? That's what I would do. Smiling, making sure that everything I said didn't sound too harsh, not too crazy, because I have to make sure that while I'm talking about my oppression, that you don't feel uncomfortable, that you don't feel as though you're part of the problem, that you're complicit, right? I have to do all this song and dance to put on this whole thing so that you feel comfortable hearing about my oppression. And even then, you won't listen. I could be showing you something factual and you won't believe it until a white cis man says that it's true. And these people could Google. They could be in community with trans people who are also talking about this, but they would rather believe that transgender people are just constantly crying and whining over nothing, and there's no real harm, there's no real danger. These people would rather believe that, right? And that's just, not an energy that I really want to engage in. Like I said, being in a situation where you are so used to engaging in respectability politics, you doubt yourself, right? You really have a way of not exactly claiming your pain accurately, your oppression accurately, with the correct words, the correct degree of passion. Right? And what I'm entering into right now is look, as we've seen modeled several times on this channel, I will always be a person who challenges themselves, second guesses some of their own thoughts, because I just think that that's a healthy way to think, right? But I'm accepting that there's some shit that I just know, right? There's some shit that I just know. There are some things that I just confidently understand about myself and about what the world is, right? And I'm not going to doubt my understanding anymore. I'm not going to lighten. Oh, God, my boyfriend just keeps texting me. What do you want? God damn it. Okay. He's helping me with some business stuff right now. It's not fulfilling to me to continuously go through this path of begging you to give a fuck when I know you don't. I know you don't. We're going to get dark for a second, right? And I've said this a few times, but I try not to say it too much. If in 2 or 3 years or even sooner, we're in a situation where they are violently trying to remove transgender people from public life, I don't want to look back on my remaining years of freedom and say that I spent it creating, accessible content for people who don't give a fuck about me. I really don't. That my history doing this has really taught me that it's unfulfilling. It does not bring me bliss. It does not bring me joy. It just makes me feel like shit. Not only that, but I also have to remind myself that I've put in my time. I've put in my hours. right? Like, look, you like, of course, a white cis person is probably going to say, Kat, you're not doing enough work. But I've been talking about this for 18 fucking years of my life. 18 fucking years of my life. That's a whole person, right? That's a whole fucking person, a whole fucking adult, right? I've put my time in. I've put my hours in. I've done it. You know? And what keeps me making the content like that? Feeling like I haven't done it. That feeling like I'm not working hard enough to bridge the gap. A gap that I didn't create, but I'm often blamed for. It's not that people are transphobic and racist. It's that you're not nice enough to the transphobes and the racists. If you just, chose a different term or used different words or, didn't call them white people or didn't call them cis people, yeah, maybe then they'll accept you. One of the things I've had to embrace is that it's not my fucking responsibility to bring people out of isms. I'm so happy that over the years I've done it for a lot of people. I get a lot of messages from people that say that they've learned and grown a lot from my work, and I think that's amazing. I don't regret it. I regret it a little bit, but if I've had a positive impact on people in that way, I don't really regret it. But what I do regret is way back when saying to myself that this has to be my focus. This has to be my goal. Because the reality is, as fascism creeps up upon the horizon in a very specific way for transgender people, it's it hasn't really worked, and I would rather enjoy my life. Nothing has shown me more than the way that things have gone in the past couple of years that it's not my responsibility. By the way, this person that left that comment, I linked them to an article about Oklahoma, which is currently going through that debate, right? I made my video on my main channel about the genocide shit, right? I did it. I talked about it. And I probably might talk about it a few more times, right? But I talked about it, right? It's all so obvious to me. And the fact that it's so obvious to me makes it annoying for me to talk about. And if you haven't picked up on this, there's a lot of conversations I have that feel really obvious to me. Very obvious to me. That I just don't want to, make content about because it's not exciting to me. Right now, I'm working on a video essay series about movies. LGBTQIA plus movies that are more than 15 years old. I'm really excited about it. There's going to be lots of art involved in it. I'm going to do much higher quality work. I'm already speaking to director of photography about some stuff. I'm really excited for the trajectory of what I'm creating on YouTube, and I need to feel like that. I need to feel like that. And something that I'm also trying to remind myself of more and more and more is that happiness and joy and gall, right, is incredibly radical for trans people right now. Going outside and smiling and enjoying your life is actually, honestly, one of the most radical things you can do right now. It's so much more radical than you sitting around and saying, well, I'm going to make sure that the cis people see me and hear me and understand me on the internet. I am so much more seated in the offline world in a way that I haven't been since I've been so obsessively tied to these political conversations on the internet. I'm a much happier person. I'm a much healthier person. It's honestly quite amazing. I just realized I probably need to go across the street before the sun goes down. But anyway, I just really wanted to talk about that because, I already kind of primed people in my end of the era video, but like y'all are gonna get a more unfiltered version of me. And that's kind of what this channel is. I'm not editing these videos except for that one time I tried to edit the repair guy out. I'm just filming them the way that I do. You know, I am not at all invested in ensuring that cis people who have shown their indifference to me are comfortable. You know, I will probably always have a way of presenting things that is probably to some degree always filtered through some degree of respectability politics. But right now I'm focusing on the happiness and joy of queer people, the art that they're creating. I'm excited about this series because a lot of these movies are iconic to queer folks, right? And for some people, some of these movies were actually very successful in educating cis het people about our lives. In some situations, it was terrible representation. We're going to talk about that too. But, you know, that's so much more exciting to me because part of it is seeing where we used to be, contrasting it with where we are, and seeing how little things have changed. Right? But either way, I really want to, if I can, while we're still free, celebrate the life and experiences, loves and passions of LGBTQIA plus people, because I just feel like that's what I should do. And the realization I sort of had the other day was that, like, I'm actually very equipped to do that. And letting go of my constant need to make these like videos explaining the shit that I already know, you know, it's making me feel way better. I'll feel so much better once this fucking apartment gets completely unpacked. But, yeah, I have to feel good about this. It's also feeling, it is actually quite good to actually, you know, start telling people to fuck off. I don't know if people have seen me do that, but I've been doing a lot of like telling people to fuck off in my comments because I don't fucking care. I'm tired of these, like, you know, quiet, subtle transphobes, you know, being like, oh, you know, it's not that, you know, no, bitch, you just are a transphobe. Like, fuck off. I don't think there's a more appropriate time to tell transphobes who are trying to lure me into a conversation where, you know, I'm supposed to now, you know, entertain their transphobia, their like mild centrist transphobia. Like, no. I know enough about myself to know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not always right. There's many different opinions. There's many different perspectives, right? But I'm not an idiot. I've been doing this long enough to finally step into myself and understand that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't need to run it through a filter of cis acceptance, white acceptance from the majority group. All that's ever done is prevent me from, as I said, accurately describe the harm, accurately describe the pain. And who does that help? Certainly not me. Anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. I just wanted to share those thoughts with you guys. I have to go and finish up packing my apartment. So, bye-bye.